I'm Ray. The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1.
Line drive to the base hit. Justice has scored a tying run. Reid to the plate. And he is safe. Safe at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines that sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Ford Field to win the 1960 World Series.
They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. Goodbye. Big World Series. The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Rock and roll. There's a left back. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick that I can brush them in the faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings, long drive, left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run. The Red Sox win. And the series is...
Lolich fires. Ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody away in foul territory. Detroit wins.
Here's the pitch to Willie. Here's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right.
Baseball to mark the time.
The Oakland A's take. I'll tell you what, we're having an earth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
Long drive to left field. Way back. This is goodbye. Home run.
Base hit loaded, 1 out. Pena in a jam. The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
Ozzie with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the
Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team lose.
Now, you just saying you want to have fun, or do you really want to have fun?
It'll be fun.
Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, and get them out of here? You don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right there is your host, Dan Scott.
Well, good morning, everybody, on another overcast, rainy, drizzly kind of morning here in the upstate of South Carolina. We welcome you to today's edition of the Dan Scott Show. It is Thursday. I am Dan. That is Forrest. Ironically enough, I'm Dan on Friday and Monday and every other day.
Yeah, it does not change too often, does it now?
Well, not anymore. In the previous life, there might have been some questions about who I was on a certain day of the week, but thankfully we got all that straightened out. I hope that your morning's off to a good start. If it is, we'll try not to mess it up. If it's not, we'll see if we can do something to provide you a little bit of a lift over the next hour, and we think we've got a pretty good show lined up for you here today. It's Thursday, so we're doing our college football picks among Forrest's three things, and we'll be jamming all of those into the first main segment after the first break, because coming up at 10:25, the esteemed sports information director of the Furman Paladins, Hunter Reid, will be here and lending his 30-plus years here at Furman, that experience to the talk of the Furman Citadel rivalry. El Cid, the Bellhops, they'll be in town on Saturday, and the Paladins looking for a win that would get them number 7 on the season, which would make them eligible for the playoffs, and would, I won't say guarantee a playoff spot, but would make it awfully hard to keep them out of a playoff spot. So a lot on the line, especially with what we're told about the Citadel bringing a bunch of folks up here.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun environment, Dan.
Yeah, it's going to be great, and we're looking forward to it. Hunter's been here a while. He's seen a lot of these games.
He sure has.
And we're going to talk to him and get his reflections on the rivalry. And then at about 10:45, normally Doug Allison would be with us, the Furman men's soccer coach, but Doug is attending the funeral of the father of one of his players, and assistant coach Bret Boulware is going to be here instead today. So first of all, our thoughts and prayers go out to that family. And secondly, assistant coach Bret Boulware will be here. The semifinals and finals of the SoCon men's soccer tournament on campus here this weekend, and the Furman men trying to win this thing and go on to the NCAAs.
That is correct, Dan. They got a good squad. They had a lot of accolades this past Tuesday when Lawrence was named the player of the year, and I believe they had 2 on first team, 4 on the second team, and 2 on the all-freshman team. So hopefully they can take that momentum and go forward.
I want to say hello to a couple of folks who I've noticed have tuned in here. Cameron White, our buddy over at the Greenville Drive.
Yeah, one of the best.
Does such a fine job with the media relations gig over there. Has to put up with this guy and Ed Jensen on game days.
That's a tall task there, Dan.
And works for Eric Jarenko. I mean, that's
it's a gauntlet right there.
Gauntlet is a good word. But Cam is here. My buddy John Haas, a.k.a. the Gatekeeper. For those of you who have followed the Dan Scott Show from way back in the earliest of the early days over at the Clemson station, John was my very first producer.
Oh, wow.
And we had a lot of fun until he and his family, if I'm not mistaken, ended up moving up to North Carolina.
Oh, that's fun.
But he was the very first buffer put between me and the masses.
It's got to be a thick buffer there, Dan.
Well, and you got to remember the way things were at the station at that time. I mean, literally, it was a one-person thing, kind of like what I'm doing now, except when we took phone calls, that we at the beginning, you didn't even have a caller ID. Later, we had caller ID, but literally, I'd be hitting a button saying, "You're on the air. Who's this?" No 7-second delay. I mean,
no screening process.
No, it's just, whatever you get is what you get. And we got some good stuff, let me tell you. But anyway, John is my very first producer, and it's good to see him popped in. And then a very special young lady. I saw her here. I was going to do this anyway, and I'm glad she's here to see it. But today is the 22nd birthday of my youngest daughter.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Rebecca, that's her right in the middle with the white scarf. And those are the ladies in my life. My oldest daughter, Samantha, my granddaughter, Annie, Rebecca, who's 22 today, and my lovely wife, Angela, all 4 beautiful ladies. And Samantha's about ready to make us a grandparents for the second time coming up in December. But very special day for Rebecca. I had hoped, and if we get it, I still may put this up on the screen if we get it before the show is done. I thought I had it on my phone. I don't. My wife is searching to see if she has it on her phone. But Rebecca shares a birthday with a number of people, as you might imagine.
Yes.
But chief among them is former Reds slugger Adam Dunn. And Adam Dunn was her favorite player.
Oh, wow.
When she was growing up, and we were going to Reds games every year at the new stadium beginning in 2003 and moving forward from when she was still, I guess, back in elementary school and all the way up through high school and even trying to continue it now. But she got to meet him.
Oh, man.
Actually, she got to meet him, and then like a month later, he was traded. So it was your fault. You got to meet him.
The old trade chip. Yeah.
But she did. She got to take pictures with him down in the tunnel where the players' entrance is. And if I had that one, that's the one I was going to put up. But instead, went with this one since we didn't have that one. But that's my life right there, boy. Those four young ladies, and happy 22nd birthday to young Rebecca, who is finishing up this year. We hope as a nursing student, a senior year of her nursing student studies down in Charleston Southern. So,
oh boy.
So happy birthday, and I love you, baby. All right, let's take a look at what's going on around campus.
Yes, sir.
And go from there, and we'll do that in trivia and then take a break and come back and get into our college football picks. But what do you have?
All right, on the football team, P.J. Blazejowski and Antonio Wilcox were named finalists for the 2017 Blanchard Rogers Award, which is the best football player with South Carolina ties. Congrats to them on that. That's a very esteemed award here in the state of South Carolina. The men's and women's basketball team, they signed a number of players yesterday. They signed Jalen Pugh out of Cartersville, Georgia, Mike Bothwell out of Willoughby, Ohio, Andrew Taylor out of Corbin, Kentucky. Hopefully there'll be another Corbin Comet for us 60 years later. And Jalen Slauson out of Somerville, South Carolina. Those are the men's players. The women, they signed two players this week. They signed Grace Van Ridge and Sutton West, so that's going to be a good class for them. The women's golf team, they finished the fall rankings at 7th in the country, so they'll start things back up later in the spring. The women's tennis team also signed two players, Julia Adams out of Knoxville, Tennessee, and Eva Borders out of Louisville, Kentucky. And the Furman calendar, you have no games tonight, but tomorrow's going to be a full slate for the Paladins. The cross-country team, they travel to Charlottesville, Virginia, for the Southeast Regionals this weekend for the NCAAs. The men's basketball team, they'll tip off things tomorrow night at 7 o'clock against Bob Jones for their first game of the year. And men's soccer, they will play UNC Greensboro at 7 o'clock tomorrow night at Stone Soccer Stadium. So come out and support all your Paladins.
So it's a lot going on. And again, with basketball opening up tomorrow, we'll talk a little bit more about that maybe later on in the show, but definitely some tomorrow and talk about broadcasts and all sorts of other good things. Let's get to the trivia, and then we will take a break and come back and get rolling because we've got a lot to get to inside this hour today. But we've been on Furman Citadel football trivia, and I sense that's where we're going to stay.
You all right, Dan? The question is, which Paladin quarterback has thrown for the most yards against a Citadel Bulldog team?
In a career or in a single game?
In a single game.
Okay, what Paladin quarterback has thrown for the most yards in a single game against the Citadel?
Yep.
All right, good question. We will let you chew on that for a little bit. If you have a guess, you can leave it in the comments section of the platform of which you're watching us, or you can tweet it to at Dan Scott Show. You see it right there on the screen on the high-tech graphics board. When we come back, we'll get into Forest 3 things, which will include the college football picks. But first, he said, a word about Atlanta Bread Company. I was there for breakfast this morning, had a chance to chat with Jeff Massey briefly, and We've been telling you about this turkey cranberry sandwich they have, which is seasonal heading into Thanksgiving, with the cranberries baked into the bread. And I said, anything else? He said, not right now. He said, but coming up, I'll just give you a little teaser here. Coming up probably the first week of December, we're going to start talking about holiday breads that they make.
Breads.
Yes.
I like that
are great for yourself or great for gifts to give. So you're looking for a little holiday bread action. We'll be talking about that in a little bit. But right now, just remind you, cool weather. How about some hot soup, hot chili, hot sandwiches, a bunch of hot drinks, things to just kind of warm your soul on these cool days. That's the Atlanta Bread Company. Cherrydale Plaza, great food, even better people. Close to campus and convenient from just about anywhere you are. Stop by and see them today and thank them for their sponsorship of this program. More about them in this commercial set, and then it's off to the college football picks. We'll be back right after this.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT on pimento cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget their gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
Say you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR cell phone repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPR cell phone repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR cell phone repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today.
Hey Furman fans, it's baseball season. Here at Ingalls, we know that as you root for the home team, sometimes you want more than just peanuts and Cracker Jack. And while we do deliver on your favorite ballpark classics, we're proud to offer a packed lineup of everything you need to make your next meal a home run. Ingalls, a proud sponsor of Furman Baseball and the official grocery store of Furman Athletics. Go Dins!
The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point offers a dining experience that will have you coming back for more time and time again. Everything is freshly made on site, including the different varieties of bread and all the baked goodies. And the menu, Atlanta Bread Company offers a wide variety from hot soups and chili to hot and cold sandwiches and paninis. Even breakfast selections topped off with your choice of piping hot coffees. Come see for yourself. You'll love it. The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point, proud sponsors of the Furman Paladins and the Dan Scott Show. All right, we continue here on the program, just basically getting cranked up. It's time for us to get into forestry things.
There it is.
Got to at least once a week.
There you go.
And then when Hunter gets in, if he starts droning on and on a little bit, then I can give him a little Charlie Brown's t-shirt. All right, last week was the first week in a while that you outpicked me. I think you beat me by one game.
That's correct.
So let's see what we've got this week. What kind of bait are you going to dangle in front of me?
I don't know. Not much
this week.
Not much bait for this one because it's three pretty obvious games to watch, I think.
By the way, before you even get there, we talked a little bit.
Yeah.
And I want to pull this up real quick because we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but we only touched on like three of the games. But have you seen the list of games involving top 25 teams?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Number 1, Georgia at number 10, Auburn. Number 2, Alabama at number 16, Mississippi State. Number 3, Notre Dame at number 7, Miami. Number 5, Oklahoma at number 6, TCU. Number 12, Michigan State at number 13, Ohio State. Number 15, Oklahoma State at number 21, Iowa State. And number 20, Iowa at number 8, Wisconsin.
Man.
All of those games involving teams that are each in the top 25.
It's going to be a really fun weekend of football.
That is a heck of a weekend of college football. So which ones did you pick? And tomorrow, by the way, is the possible upsets, the second half of our picks. But which three did you pick for us today?
I picked first game, number 1, Georgia versus number 10, Auburn. This game holds two important factors. The college football playoff and the SEC implications. If Auburn can win the SEC West, or it can win the SEC West if it beats Georgia and Alabama, that's going to be a tough task this week and next week. But more importantly, this is the UGA's, Georgia's last chance, last challenge. Excuse me, can't remember handwriting again. Last challenge to the the SEC championship game, and if it can win this one, it may solidify a spot in the top 4, possibly. But this game will come down to which QB can throw the ball better, Jake Fromm of Georgia or Jarrett Stidham of Auburn. And I like Fromm with the plethora of running backs that UGA has. I'm going with the Bulldogs, Dan.
You know, Auburn played a lot better than I thought they would play last week. Georgia under Mark Richt, going back prior to last year, kind of had a little bit of that when are they going to lay an egg feel to them, especially in the last maybe 5 or 6 years. Having said that, I know it's a road game. I know that it is a staunch Auburn defense that has as good a shot maybe as anybody of slowing that Georgia running game. And if they can do that and put it in the hands of the Georgia passing game, then I think that works to their favor. There's been nobody really slow Georgia's running game this year, and I don't see it happening to a great extent this week. I honestly, I want to take Auburn here, but I'm not. I'm going to take Georgia.
And I think Jacob Fromm did a good job last week of being able to show his passing prowess against the Gamecocks. So I think they kind of opened that up a little bit for Jake Fromm and that Georgia offense. So I think this is the week to kind of break out even more on the passing game.
Okay. So we both picked Georgia.
Yep. Game number 2, number 3 Notre Dame versus number 7 Miami. The Catholics versus convicts, man. Break out your 80s apparel for this one. It's going to be a dogfight for all 60 minutes. Notre Dame can really run the ball. They have 325 yards per game on the ground, which is pretty impressive. And then the Hurricanes have struggled to stop the run, but made some great strides last week against the Hokies of Virginia Tech. But I think the key here will be Miami's QB, Malik Rozier. If he can limit the mistakes, he's made seven of them in the air this year. Miami will win the game, and I think Miami will beat Notre Dame down in Coral Gables.
This really puts me in a tough spot because I on one hand, well, really on both hands, want Miami to win this game.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I do. I'm not a big Notre Dame fan. As you know, I've got issues with Notre Dame being where they are and possibly taking one of those top 4 spots and not being affiliated with a conference.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love nothing more than Miami to knock them off and remove them at least partially from that equation. I just don't know if they're quite ready. I mean, I know they're undefeated. Mark Richt's done a fantastic job there.
Yep.
I don't know if they're quite ready to do it yet, but I'm going to roll the dice.
Oh man, he's going to Vegas, folks.
I'm going to take the Hurricanes.
All right, right on, Dan. I think this is going to be a really fun game to watch. After seeing Miami's defense last week against Virginia Tech, that gave me a lot of confidence in these Hurricanes. So I think this will be a good test for them down in Coral Gables this week, and to see if they can hang with the top 3 or 4 team, because they're going to need to if they're going to face Clemson in the ACC championship game.
Yep. All right, so that's 2. We both pick Miami as well.
Yes, sir. Game number 3, number 6 TCU versus number 5 Oklahoma. Get ready for some points here, folks. Both teams sport dominating passing games, but this game will come down to defense. And as soon as defense gives up 413 yards per game to just 281 yards for the Horned Frogs. TCU is quicker to the draw and gunned down the Sooners in Norman.
So you're taking TCU
on the road.
On the road,
yeah.
You know what's been interesting with TCU? I think their defense has kind of lived up to expectations, but the last couple of weeks, their offense has kind of gone in reverse.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. I don't think they can fully hold down Oklahoma. I think they're going to have to score points to beat them. And of course, Oklahoma's defense is pretty much a
major
sieve.
Question marks.
Pretty much a sieve. So the question really comes down to, do I want to put my faith in Baker Mayfield?
That's a common theme of the year, Dan. I feel like
that has been. that's come up more than once. Do I want to put my faith in Baker Mayfield at home against TCU? And wow.
After seeing their defense last week, I just can't pick the Sooners.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to have to take TCU, and you and I have to differ tomorrow, maybe on some of the potential upset games. I'm going to take TCU to win it, and the fact that their defense will be good enough to at least slow Oklahoma. They won't stop them, but they'll slow them enough.
Yep.
And I think TCU probably wins this one 34-31, 31-28.
I was thinking the game,
something like that.
Yeah, the mid-30s, I'd say. So it's going to be a dogfight, but it's just who can come up with that big stop in that fourth quarter, I think. So
I just can't. I just in the end, I just can't put all my eggs in the Sooner basket.
I understand that.
Sooner wagon.
That's a tough one.
Yep. All right, tomorrow it'll be the potential upsets that we'll look at, and there'll be 3 more games for us to pick.
All right, thing number 2.
Yep.
Jerry Jones, the Dallas Cowboys owner, has threatened to sue the NFL if Commissioner Roger Goodell's contract is extended by the league's compensation committee after 2018. This will be the second time he sues the NFL in his odd career, I would say. The grounds of the suit have not been confirmed yet, but one source said Jones wants to increase to a 3/4 majority to approve a commissioner's contract from a 2/3 majority, or produce a report stating the economic decline Goodell has had on the 32 teams. Some have said that this is a scare tactic and that Jones has no case, which I kind of fall into that realm a little bit, I would say. But there are 2 important things to keep in mind here. One, Jerry is not one of the 6 owners on that compensation committee, so he wants to have his own candidate be the commissioner so he can kind of control things on a more tightly roped basis. And 2, most owners don't like what Goodell has done, but they want him to be around to negotiate the new CBA in 2021. And that's a collective bargaining agreement, CBA.
Yeah. It smacks of a power play by Jerry Jones.
Yes.
It does.
Desperation, too.
I don't know if desperation is the right word, because he's got the most profitable franchise in all of the NFL.
But I think he wants more powers, essentially, because he's kind of on the outside looking in right now on those 6, the compensation committee, I would say.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes you have to be careful what you ask for. You know, you might get it. You got things.
No, I agree.
You got things rolling with a franchise that, by and large, has been one of the more disappointing franchises over the last 15 years or so.
Yep.
And he still has the most profitable because of what he had done when it came to selling his own paraphernalia, making his own local marketing deals, and some of the other things that he did that was kind of trend-setting before the other teams jumped on board to do it. So it smacks as a power play. Look, I know that a lot of people are not happy with Roger Goodell, but when this contract was approved previously, if I'm not mistaken, Jones was...
He was an advocate for it.
He voted for it. So why is he changing his tune now before it gets finalized? That's the big question.
I think he kind of sees the direction that the NFL is heading, and that's down a spiral path. And I saw an article in the Washington Post yesterday that there was a committee between Tony Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon and Bob Costas, and they all thought that the NFL in 15 to 20 years is probably not going to exist anymore for multiple reasons.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case or not, but the And I know a lot of the concern Costas is one of the reasons he believes that is because of the brain injury.
Yes, and that is the main concern for him. Yeah,
brain injury thing. But as for this particular issue, I think it's just a power grab by Jerry Jones more than anything else.
No, I agree with that a little bit for sure because he wants to control everything on a very tight leash. That's just his nature, I would say.
All right, what's thing 3?
Thing 3, the NCAA basketball season tips off tomorrow with an 160-game slate, Dan. So hope you got your DVR ready for that one. The only top 25 matchup is number 11 West Virginia, and Bob Huggins in his jumpsuit against number 25 Texas A&M. So that should be a fun game to watch. Other notable matchups include Morehead State at Xavier, Duke at Elon, Northern Iowa versus UNC, and Northern Iowa beat UNC a few years ago in that NCAA tournament. Some SoCon schools to look out for. UNC Greensboro versus UVA, South Carolina versus Wofford, Sanford versus Arkansas. So some SoCon schools are playing some tournament teams here. So it's going to be a fun night of college basketball all around, Dan, I would say.
Yeah, and it's also going to make for a busy broadcaster.
Yeah, it is.
With basketball Friday, football Saturday, coaches show Monday, basketball Tuesday.
Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday, basketball Tuesday. And, of course, that's what happens this time of year.
Yep.
And selfishly, I hope it continues to be a crossover log jam of busyness because that means that Furman made the playoffs and maybe makes a little run in the postseason. I would love nothing more than to have my personal schedule messed up.
That'd be fun
because of that. But yeah, I mean it's here, and it's going to be intriguing to see, especially with all the off the court stuff, how this season plays out, and will college basketball's viewership and ratings suffer any because of the FBI investigation, and I mean there are a whole lot of levels at play here, so we'll see what happens. But right now, just as far as a pure love of the sport goes, this is a crazy time of year.
It really is. It's a lot of overlapping going on, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep. All right, it's 10:25.
It is.
We need to step aside and take a break. When we come back, Hunter Reid should be with us, and we're going to talk about the Citadel and that rivalry, which renews on Saturday. Matter of fact, he's walking in the door right now. We'll be back in just a moment here on this edition of the Dan Scott Show. Don't go away.
Stuck in a state of falling behind? Struggling to keep up with your kids, finances, insurance? Then let State Farm agent Steve Borkland in Travelers Rest help you simplify and get to a better state. Because with Steve handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time for everything else. More money, too, because adding State Farm policies could mean earning discounts worth up to 40%. That's money Steve can help you put towards a college savings plan. Call State Farm agent Steve Borkland today and get to a better state with State Farm.
Let me tell you something, Cowboy. This rookie can really bring the heat.
He's smoky and spicy with a Chipotle style all his own.
It's a new Montgomery Inn Chipotle barbecue sauce. Make it a part of your home team.
Available now at your neighborhood grocer or online at CincyFavorites.com.
All right, welcome back to the show. We are live here at Paladin Stadium overlooking the visitor stands out toward beautiful Paris Mountain, he said. And it's good to have you with us on this Thursday edition of the program. How are you,
I'm
Hunter
doing great,
Reid?
guys.
I am remiss for not having this right at the very beginning, but we never, ever, under any circumstance, bring you on the air without something, he said, from the annals of Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Oh man, this is awesome.
You like that?
It's all good.
I love that smile.
It's all good. Whenever CCR is playing, Susie Q, and you name it, whatever you got.
Well, that was the first one that popped up on the list.
Hey, that's all. Number one choice always there. That's good.
That's fantastic. So how you doing?
Doing great. It's a busy week, but it's been fun. A lot going on. National Signing Day yesterday, and football staring us in the face. And SoCon soccer tournament, volleyball, women's basketball, men's basketball. It's whenever you get these crossover times, it's busy but fun.
Yeah, and I told you yesterday, because I know that you're really busy and appreciate your time, because I appreciate you coming on here and making a little time for us. I told you I'd try to keep the anti-Braves rhetoric to a minimum.
Well,
today.
You probably should anyway if you want an audience.
Wow,
that's good advice right there.
Hey, it never stopped me before.
Oh, I know.
How many Furman Citadel games will this be for you?
I've seen every one since '86. I came here in the fall of '85 as an assistant in our office, and didn't make the trip to Charleston for that game. That was Clay's senior year and Bobby Lamb, and they didn't break much of a sweat in beating Citadel 42-0 in Charleston. So I missed that big win, but it was never in doubt. But I've seen every one since '86.
So you have a perspective, at least among people around here, until Clay came back, that is a little unique. So you've seen a lot of battles between these teams. You've seen a lot of shenanigans, but between these two programs. Just tell us a story or two. What are some things that stick out?
Oh, I enjoyed all the wins by Furman. I was doing a little math. Furman's 20-12 since over that span of all the games that I've seen. Enjoyed all the wins immensely. Suffered in the losses, like our team and fans. But there are many more people who've seen a lot more Furman Citadel than I have. But it was kind of nice to get here in the 80s, mid-80s, when Furman was actually on a pretty good run against the Citadel, which began in '78. So saw a lot of wins initially. It's been a little bit of a streaky here. We were on a pretty good streak there, and then Citadel kind of answered us in the early '90s, and we got it going again against them, and they've kind of had the upper hand here recently. So it's been a little back and forth, but I like to think that I like to say that even our losses, Citadel, I only counted 5 games over that span. I felt like Citadel was clearly better than we are. Now, they won more games than that, but a couple of those games came when, we were playing our third-string or fourth-string quarterback. So, anyway, I will admit that they've been better probably in 5 games by my count.
and do so grudgingly, by the way.
That's right.
That was not easy for Reid to say.
That's right. And then 2 of those have been, unfortunately, in the last 2 games that we've played them here, they were clearly the better team, but hopefully we can turn that around this weekend.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago, I think, they had run for 300 yards by halftime or close to it.
Yeah, they were really good, and I've seen some good Citadel teams. I think about the '94 game when they beat us here, and they had Travis Jervey, who went on to have an excellent NFL career. We couldn't catch him. I don't think we've caught him yet, and still running after him. And they weren't very good defensively either. They beat us 52-44. But luckily, I've seen a lot more big Furman wins than Citadel Furman wins over us.
It's interesting as generations change and generations of players change. The view of rivalries change. We were talking yesterday with Brian Bratton when he was here. The biggest rivalries among the players, he said, well, first of all, they were so good that kind of everybody was a rival, but it was more Appalachian State, Georgia Southern. Now, this generation of players might look at Wofford as more of the biggest rival, but for a certain generation, the one and only rival is the Citadel.
Oh, yeah. This is the original rivalry, and you summed it up perfectly, Dan. You've been here long enough now to really appreciate that generational difference. And Brian Bratton, truer words had never been spoken. When you talk about the demographic of Furman graduates and players who played here in the 60s, 70s, even going back to 50s, 60s, 70s, and in the 80s, they'll probably consider Citadel to be our biggest rival. And then when you speak of someone in Brian Bratton's demographic, obviously when you've played Georgia Southern for a couple of national championships in the late 80s, mid to late 80s, and then you've battled Appalachian State for a lot of really meaningful games over a number of years, it's easy to see how that rivalry label gets applied to someone else. And I always kind of found it interesting that Wofford, who, since joining the Southern Conference, kind of ticked them off that we didn't consider them our biggest rival. And, I tried to explain to a couple of them, we've had some pleasant conversations, that, like, look, we've played for Southern Conference championships with these other teams when you guys were still in AIA. I said, give it time, and it has developed over time, and I think it'll continue to grow. And they're obviously very good and have been for a number of years under Mike Ayers. So that will grow just simply because of the similarity to schools and the proximity. But, yes, the Citadel has been our historic rival, and probably will continue because I think they consider us their biggest rival. They hate us about as much as we hate them, so that's good.
That's what makes a rival.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Your first game was in '85, but you didn't see that one. But what was your first game like in '86 when you first saw the two teams battle out in the gridiron?
It was here in Paladin Stadium. If I remember correctly, they jumped out to an early lead. I think they may have gotten up on us 14-0. We came back. We beat them 37-14, I believe. So, that 86 team, Furman went on to the playoffs, and then the 87 game is the one that's kind of burned into my memory. We played in Charleston, and it was late in the year, last game of the year. And we beat them about as badly as I've seen Furman beat. As a matter of fact, we threw one pass in the second half. We ran fullback dive and toss sweep, and threw one pass in the second half, and they accused us of running the score up on them. So we beat them 58-13. And that team, by the end of the year, that Furman team, is probably fortunate the rest of FCS or 1AA at the time that we didn't make the playoffs, because that was the team that was rounding into shape to win the '88 national championship. Had we gotten to the playoffs in '87, we probably would have gone pretty far. That was a really good team. That was the Blankenship. That was the team that we had coming back in '88 that won it all. So, but there are a lot of good early memories there in that series.
Hunter Reid, the sports information director here at Furman, joining us to lend his reflections and thoughts on the Furman Citadel rivalry, which will renew at Paladin Stadium on Saturday at 2 p.m. I kind of got fired up. Word is that they're bringing 10 busloads of cadets up here, and this being family weekend and senior day and everything else, potentially we could have the largest crowd we've had this is my 7th year in my tenure here at Paladin Stadium. This has a chance to be a fantastic atmosphere.
Well, it usually is a pretty good atmosphere regardless of the records of the teams, just because of the rivalry, and we've played every year since 1919, other than a little 3-year lull for World War II. But they brought a lot of their core up here 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, so that's good. I think that's a signal of what the game means to them, and with it being family weekend, as you referenced, Dan, I think we'll probably have a pretty good crowd. And I think, obviously the word's out. And when you win 6 games in a row, I think people realize that, hey, our program's on the way back. We've had some nice wins. We're in a good position in the league right now with kind of destiny in our hands. If we want to try to, claim a share of the conference title and make the playoffs. But we still got a lot of work to do. And Citadel's going to come in here and love nothing more than to, wreck our chances of doing either one of those two things. So, I expect a really good game. It'll be very intense, very hard fought.
Yeah, it's one of the things we talked about a little bit with Brian yesterday, and I'm glad you brought that up, because there are so many facets and so many layers to a true rivalry, and one of those layers is, well, if our season is pretty much done and we can't advance, we can still take pleasure in maybe wrecking your season. And Citadel can at least slow the Furman train a little bit here if they can come up with a win on Saturday.
Well, they're also playing for a winning season themselves. Mm-hmm. They've got Clemson in their windshield next week, so if they don't beat us Saturday, I think they probably kiss that goal goodbye of having a winning season. So if they beat us, they probably will finish 6-5. So they've got a lot to play for in addition, just because it's the rivalry. And then, you talk about the rivalry, Dan, and, the chance to wreck a season. I know you've probably heard the stories about, this game traditionally was played toward the end of the year. It hasn't always been like that. Some Furman people like to think it's always been played in. But it was for a number of years up until the late 80s and 90s. And the Citadel, and specifically their athletic director, Walt Nadzak, saw to it that was changed, because they got tired of us beating them at the end of the year and leaving a sour taste in their mouths for months after the season. So that game, the league left the option for traditional rivals to play that game at the end of the year, and Citadel declined to do that. So that's why the game has been moved around all over the schedule, over the years since. So just wanted to make sure that history was told there.
Absolutely.
Because I was here and I know exactly what happened.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, and anyway, so I'm glad you did. And really, it's a shame because it would be on our level, it would be a natural fit to those last couple of Saturdays where you see all these rivalry games across the country.
Yeah, and of course, some people like to say, hey, look, let's get that Furman-Wofford game in a year. But I guess where the league schedule is set up now, all of it kind of rotates. I don't know what on a basis, 2 or 3 year basis. But anyway, kind of the traditional model's been thrown out. It was thrown out years ago. But, there are people who would like to see this at the last game of the regular season or toward the end of the regular season.
How has the rivalry changed at all, if any, over the years since you've been here in terms of the players, the fans, the atmosphere around the games?
It's been pretty consistent because there's just a consistent disagreement, as I'll say, between the two schools. But it's obviously had a lot. It has a little bit of a ebb and flow when we've played for conference championships like we did here in 1988 and 90, where literally the winner of the game was going to win the regular season championship, and Furman won both those games. You've had probably some of the best crowds we've ever had for games with Citadel. But I'll give Citadel credit; they historically have traveled as well. Their fans on the road as anybody in the league, given their size. Now, when Georgia Southern and Appalachian were in the league, they just had numbers.
Yeah.
But just the size of the student body, alumni base, Citadel has always traveled well, regardless of their record. So that's good. So that's always made for an interesting game, even when both teams weren't really playing for anything or had already been eliminated from the conference championship race. So it's been good, been intense, pretty much every year. And of course, the alums, they want nothing more than to beat Citadel. So
I know from my years covering Clemson, when the Clemson-South Carolina game came around, you saw people in the media press box that you never saw all year long, and whether didn't matter which place it was in, there was always seemed to be people who somehow, some way, were able to finagle a press pass and get there because everybody wanted to cover that game. Does at our level, does this game kind of invoke the same thing? Do you see an uptick in interest in this game?
Maybe a little bit, but that's as intense as our rivalry is. I don't think it's anything close to that in terms of what you see in Clemson and South Carolina. But yeah, you get a little bit of that. I have gotten a couple of photo requests this week that I've kind of had to drill down on to find out, all right, okay, you're coming from the Lincolnton newspaper in North Carolina, and not exactly somebody that staffs our home games. I said, why are you coming?
Mm-hmm.
And so you want to find out, hey, is it somebody whose son plays for the Citadel and he's got a camera, and that kind of thing. So yeah, you got to kind of put the filter on there.
Yeah.
Now wait a minute, you're not implying that anybody would ever try to finagle a press pass by nefarious means.
No,
no, you're just flat out saying that. You're not implying it.
No, yeah. I mean, I did get that request this week, and I talked to the guy 2 or 3 times. And it's you want to question it because a guy emailed me, called me a month ago, and then he called me again 2 weeks ago. Hey, when am I going to get that pass? I'm like, hey, bud, I got 2 games between now and Citadel. I said, I'm still looking at your request, and so I kind of grilled him a little bit. And but anyway, it's you want to be accommodating, but at the same time, you're not going to just throw it wide open for anybody who's got an iPhone who wants to get on the field, take a picture of his son running up and down the field.
And the most important thing, I think, to remember is there's only so much Henry's barbecue to go around.
That's true.
So
well, truer words have never been spoken. Absolutely.
The budget is what the budget is,
right.
and we're not
and
going.
we just got to make sure Furman Radio Crew taken care of, man, before anybody else
start from there, and then everything else can
That's
be
right.
Can go downhill. Hunter Reid joining us here. What do you? I asked Brian this yesterday from a coaching standpoint, from your standpoint. I'd like to get your thoughts on it. because of the time you've been here and you've seen Furman at its absolute best, and you've seen the Paladins, like the rest of us have, struggling these last few years. I think that there was great optimism when Clay Hendricks was hired, and more than just the usual optimism when there's a new coach, because there's always optimism when there's a new coach. Did you foresee this turnaround happening this quickly?
No. And that's not casting any doubt on what I expected Clay Hendricks and his staff would do here. I thought it would be a year or so. But, at the same time, I did think we would be improved. But am I surprised? Not really, because I believed from day one that Clay and what he would bring back to Furman was exactly what we needed. And I believe that during the interview process that, Clay, with all his time here as a player and assistant, he knows exactly what we need here, and he knows how to win here. And, his 10 years at Air Force, he was recruiting the same kind of young men that we recruit here at Furman and need here. High character, overachieving, young men who want to play football and succeed in the classroom. So really and truly, the Clay Hendricks who was here in 2006 is exactly who is the same guy we needed here this year. And I'm just blown away, like any Furman fan, just excited about where we are now, the immediate and long-term future of Furman football, because a lot of those principles that were so good to us in the late 70s, 80s, 90s, and early part of the 2000s, he's brought back. And it's not a mystery. It's what has led to our success here. And he knows it. He knows what it takes, and he's delivering. And his staff, I think his staff that he's assembled is just absolutely tremendous. And I think that's the thing that I'm not going to spare a moment to not talk about. I just think he's assembled an unbelievable staff.
Well, and the results bear it out, and this is one of the things that we've been tracking for about the last 5 weeks. If you look at the graphic up on the screen, the points and rushing yards this season compared to the last 4 years, and we have already run by each of those 4 years and as far as ground gains, and the 2013 season was 14 games because of the 12-game regular season and 2 playoff games. The running the football has been the biggest renaissance that we've seen here, and it has just opened up so much more with this offense.
Well, it has, and it's just an effective ground game is I just think just so critical. And in fact, one of the benefits of it is just, to me, it's so demoralizing to an opponent when they know you can run the football and the kind of the game's on the line, and you're just going to hog that football, keep it away from them, let your defense rest a little bit. And we saw that in that Mercer game. Mm-hmm. We just took the ball methodically down the field on those guys, executed a lot of third and short, fourth and shorts, and I'm not so sure we would have done that a year ago. We probably been punting somewhere along that line and giving Mercer the ball back. But to be able to execute and get that first down when it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 2 is just absolutely critical to winning football games. And then you take our 2, I call them the battering rams we've got this year, and you put them behind an offensive line that is being directed by Clay Hendricks and Pete Lusk, who know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. You got to like your chances in most any game you line up. That's why I just think we're a dangerous team if we can get to the playoffs. We still got work to do. Civil's not going to concede anything. They're very capable of coming in here and wearing us out this Saturday. But if we can get there, given what we've seen this year with the run game and the balance is what I think is been the real secret to our success, being able effectively running it like we run it, and then when teams kind of cheat up on the run, and what do? Throw it over their heads. So it's no mystery. It's plain to see what we've done, and just Clay gets all the credit for bringing that back here.
You're excited, aren't you?
Pumped. I'm telling you, really, it's when your football team's going good. We've had this feeling here before.
Oh, yeah.
It's you get out of bed with a little pep in your step. And I am excited. I'm excited for Clay because I'm no Shaman or a wise man. I couldn't have predicted we'd have 6 wins at this point, but a lot of people were very confident that he's what we needed, and just could not be happier now that he's in charge of this program, and this program's taking on his persona, his character, his coolness, its confidence. Mm-hmm. It's just everything coming together. It's just a joy to see.
Hunter, thank you for your time.
Guys, I always enjoy it.
Didn't even have to go to the
I love
notes.
talking Furman football,
Yes,
brother, especially when we're winning.
What about 80s Braves baseball, huh?
Hey, yeah, 80s. Come on now. Hey, we sowed the seeds, brother.
I'll talk all the 80s Braves baseball you want to talk.
And we can go back to the ancient times in the mid-'70s when you want to talk about it.
That is Hunter Reid, the esteemed sports information director here at Furman. All right, we got to take a break. We'll come back, and Bret Boulware is going to join us to talk about the SoCon soccer semifinals and finals. He's pinch hitting for Doug Allison today. We'll see what Bret invented. Doug Allison invented the baseball glove. You knew that, right? We'll see if Bret invented anything when we come back right after this.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT on pimento cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget their gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at thecafewilliamshardware.com.
So you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPO Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today, and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today.
Hey Furman fans, it's baseball season. Here at Ingalls, we know that as you root for the home team, sometimes you want more than just peanuts and Cracker Jack. And while we do deliver on your favorite ballpark classics, we're proud to offer a packed lineup of everything you need to make your next meal a home run. Ingalls, a proud sponsor of Furman Baseball and the official grocery store of Furman Athletics. Go Dins!
The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point offers a dining experience that will have you coming back for more time and time again. Everything is freshly made on site, including the different varieties of bread and all the baked goodies. And the menu, Atlanta Bread Company offers a wide variety from hot soups and chili to hot and cold sandwiches and paninis. Even breakfast selections topped off with your choice of piping hot coffees. Come see for yourself. You'll love it. The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point, proud sponsors of the Furman Paladins and the Dan Scott Show. All right, welcome back to the show. Final segment here on this Thursday. Our thanks to Hunter Reid for joining us to lend his thoughts to the Furman-Citadel rivalry. Before we continue here, just a quick word about our friends at Hall's Chop House in downtown Greenville, the Greenville Steakhouse. And if you're going to pronounce yourself the anything of a city like Greenville, then you better have something to back it up, and they do. Allen Brothers Prime Steaks out of Chicago. That's where their menu starts, and everything else falls into place from there. They have meeting space available that can take care of your Christmas party needs, corporate needs, whatever you have, and they're open 7 nights a week for dinner plus brunch on Sundays. They have live music every time they're open, and if the weather's nice, they even have a patio area that you can hang out on. Hall's Chop House, the originals in Charleston, and now downtown, the Greenville Steakhouse. Please stop by and tell them that you heard about them here on the show and enjoy dinner. As we continue and get set to put a wrap on things, normally Doug Allison would be sitting in the middle chair, but he has one of those duties that no head coach wants to do today, but I won't even say requires, because I know that he doesn't want to do it, but he wanted to do it.
Absolutely.
And Bret Boulware is here to pinch hit for him. But Bret, first of all, good to see you.
Good to be here.
But Doug is attending the funeral of father of one of the players, correct?
Yeah, unfortunately, one of our players lost his father this past week, and it's been a really rough week. The guys have really pulled together. But we feel for him, and Doug absolutely needed to get up there and just go be with him for a few minutes.
And that's what I've come to know about Doug Allison's character. You wouldn't expect him to be anywhere else, would you?
No, not at all.
So let's talk soccer.
All right.
Let's talk about this minor little tournament with just a little bit on the line this weekend here, and it happens to be on campus.
Yeah, a couple of tiny games that we want to get through, and then get moving on to the big ones.
The SoCon semifinals and finals here on campus this week for men's soccer, and the Paladins will be opening up semifinal play against Greensboro, and you've had a couple of pretty staunch matchups with them this season.
Everybody knows, especially in the soccer community, especially with all the Furman alum, UNCG and Furman is just it's a battle. So it is a tough game, and every game you want to walk out of there with a win, and especially if you have an opportunity to take it to Greensboro and hopefully into their season.
We were kidding Doug after the win over Greensboro last time out. So obviously the key was being able to play with 11 guys instead of 10, right?
Yeah, that first game was a little difficult. 3 minutes in and going down a goal and down a player made it tough. But it was nice on senior night to come back and get a result.
Of course.
Last week you faced VMI and you won 7-1. What do you learn from that game against a team that's probably not as skilled as UNC Greensboro? So what can you take from that game going into this game against UNCG on Friday?
Yeah, the nice part, if you're not winning the conference, then at least to be able to get a game in midweek. VMI, they've had a rough year, but it's nice to be able to get in front of the home crowd. The biggest thing is just to be able to get these guys some game relevance as well as it's tournament. Mm-hmm. So VMI shows up, they sneak a goal in. This is your season. This could end your season. So it's a great mindset to kind of turn from regular season mentality to, all right, it's time to go out and win every game.
So it's more of a mental thing than more of a physical thing in terms of getting your play right and getting your mind right for the SoCon tournament.
Exactly.
Yeah, you'd outscored them 9-0 combined in the first two games you played against them. So to see the team come out and take care of business like that would have to be encouraging, I think.
Start off really quick, which really settled all the fears. But in the grand scheme of things, when you've got knockout games, every game can take a bad turn. Like the Greensboro, you get a red card, and the next thing you're scrapping. So it's always good to see the mindset of the guys to come out from minute one, get the goal early, take control of the game, and that's a great mindset to go into the semifinal game with.
At 7-0, were you breathing easy?
Do coaches really breathe easy?
Well, that's why I asked. That's why I asked the question. I mean, because let's put that in football parlance. It's 49-0.
Yeah.
Are you breathing easy at 49-0?
Well, how about I put it to you this way? I'm breathing easy, but the head coach, I don't think he ever breathes easy. Doug is always, he's got that little twitch going that I've always just look over and try to calm him down a little bit. Head coaches don't relax.
That's great. This is Bret Boulware. He is sitting in for Doug Allison today as we talk about the Southern Conference semifinals and finals on campus this weekend. One of the recurring themes with Doug this year has been how he really likes getting the team out on the road because it takes distractions away from, I'm not sure that you want to call class a distraction, but and he has pointed that out, that maybe that's not the best word to use, but getting out on the road, and I've heard other coaches of other programs say the same thing. You're able to kind of just focus on you, kind of focus on the game. You don't have all the other things that are kind of getting in your head a little bit. But now it flips, and it's the conference tournament here. How can you not want to host?
Yeah, there are positive and negatives to every time. And being on the road is nice, but again, sleeping in your own bed, that's also a good thing. Guys get good night's sleep. They get the local crowd, home support, so that's all good. It's it's the outside stuff, outside the game, that it becomes a bit of a distraction. maybe not the best word, but it's all the other things that you have to take care of. So we really try to hide it from the guys, just get them focused on, hey, go to your class, get out here for practice, let's focus on the games.
Do you try in a postseason tournament, do you try to keep the routine as similar as possible?
Yes, absolutely. You don't want to really change too much. Now, the only thing we may change is strategy and tactics on the field, but other than that, we try to keep it as normal as possible. So that it's a routine that they're used to, comfortable with. They know it's game time.
Report the same time, pregame meal the same time. Nothing changes. Nothing that would set off mentally in their minds an alarm that says we're making this bigger than we should.
Exactly. It's for us, it's another game. Every game you got to go out to win, and it's the same mentality in regular season as is in postseason.
I believe it was against Wofford where you moved Kevin Edelman from the back up into the midfield. How has that kind of changed your team offensively and defensively in terms of their tactics?
Who's listening to this?
No, nobody.
Hey, now wait a minute. Don't tell our sponsors that. Come on now.
Kevin is a very calming influence. Reads the game really well, and just makes a lot of really good decisions. He's also a big presence in the middle of the field for challenges and winning the ball. So for me, anywhere on the field, he's going to have an impact. But in the middle of the field, especially with some of the injuries that we were dealing with, he's really stepped up and really controlled our play.
I got to tell you, that's head coach material right there, because you answered the question, you talked, and you didn't say a thing. I love it. Tommy Bowden, we used to ask, the occasional question about this, what are you going to do against Florida State here, or what do you do against this? And his response was always, if I told you, I'd have to kill you. So, so at least you were a little more diplomatic.
I do my best.
You handle it.
I do my best.
Well, what's key for this team if you're going to win these next two games? And that's the goal, semifinals and then the finals on Sunday, and getting the NCAA bid, because as we were talking a little earlier, the league may or may not be a two-bid league, and if it is, our RPI may not lend us to be a second team if we don't make it. So winning this thing is the most important. What are the keys?
Key is always solid defense, and we have that. We've been very stingy as far as giving up goals this year, but the quality of just the team playing together, that's been the key from first game to the last. Is this team has really worked on playing as a unit, producing some goals, especially in crucial times, and having different guys step up in different games. And that's been a big quality of this team, with different goal scorers coming in each game, and the back line just being comfortable and not making any silly mistakes.
Yeah, as Doug is always quick to point out when he does these interviews, I don't know a whole lot about the intricacies of soccer. I'm more of a big picture general sports guy. So, and Doug jumps on that with both feet, which as well he should. But I'm looking at your goals against average at .80, less than a goal a game. How is that as far as rankings? Is that excellent? Is that good?
Yeah, anytime you're giving up less than a goal a game, that means you're getting shutouts and being stingy in goal. Obviously, we'd like it to be a little bit lower. I'm on the defensive side of things, and so I'm always having to battle Doug and Brandon about they're always trying to find ways to attack and how can they take another back out of the defense to get involved and go score as many goals as possible. And I'm always like, look, let's just not give up a goal. And so it's a nice little balance, but all in all, this year, the goal against has been good. I still want it lower. I mean, everybody will tell you, I'm a goalkeeper, former goalkeeper, and we'll tell you we want 0.00. And then anything above that is not good enough.
I'd be remiss if we didn't mention Lauren Swack, the player of the year. And you also had some first-team members. You had Lauren Swack and Kevin Edelman on the second team. You got Cole McClagan, Kyle McClagan, and Danny Kearth, and then as well as Ben Hale. And then Ben Hale and Cole McClagan were named to the freshman team. Can you talk about those accolades for those players a little bit?
Yeah, those were nice to see. Lawrence being recognized by the conference was a nice bonus. He's had a good year, and to be recognized by the other coaches was definitely a plus. Very appreciative of that. I think he definitely deserved it. And then Kevin and Lawrence have had really good years, and it's nice to see him recognized in the first team. But all the other guys, the same thing with Ben in goal coming off of his injury from last year and stepping in and really having a pretty good year. and getting recognized is good. And then, like I said, the other guys on the second team, they get the awards because of the amount the team. The team has done a lot of really good things this year. Have had some nice, impressive wins, and so it's nice that they're recognized at the end of the year.
Well, let me ask you before we wrap up here, since you're a former goalkeeper, and talking about the year that Ben Hell has had as a redshirt freshman, and having a senior who played pretty much all of last year, giving up that position. And Doug has talked about that on multiple occasions, how instead of that being a point of crisis on the team, how one has worked to support the other so much. As a former goalkeeper, you have to be ecstatic with the way that's played out.
Yeah, I tell you, Johnny has had a fantastic attitude this year. He's come in and played in some games and played well, which we expect him to do. But, when he and Ben, he pushes Ben and forces Ben to be better. Because I tell you, there's been some practices Johnny has looked really, really good, and he's really forced Ben's hand. Like, you better up your level, or I'm gonna push you, or I'm gonna try to take this. But the attitude as far as the goalkeeping core has been really tight. Really work. They work together for a common purpose, which is we're going out to win as many games, and we're going to take this run as far as we can.
Sounds like a plan, and it all starts tomorrow.
It all starts tomorrow.
6 o'clock, Stone Soccer Stadium.
Yes.
Let's get it rolling and
That's
rocking.
right. And the weather's going to be nice. Just dress warm.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Brett, thank you, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it, too.
It's Brett Boulware, assistant soccer coach, and that's going to put a wrap on things after Forrest gives us the answer to the trivia question.
Correct. So the question is, which Furman quarterback passed for the most yards against the Citadel in one single game? And the answer is P.J. Blazejowski with 307 yards against the Citadel in 2014.
That shocks me a little bit. I would think that somewhere along the lines, especially with Jordan Searles and the way they threw the ball, Ingle Martin, the way they threw the ball, that somebody would have thrown for more than 307 yards against the Citadel.
And that's it.
P.J. Blazejowski.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's see if he can't beat that.
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to say that one, is because he's still around and made a big impact on this game on Saturday.
Good stuff. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. Thank you so much for your attention. We will be back with you again tomorrow for the Friday edition of the show to wrap up the week, preview the first basketball game of the season, and continue focusing on Furman and the Citadel. Mike Legg, the play-by-play voice of the Citadel, will not be able to be with us tomorrow because their basketball team plays at 3 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
And he does a 3-hour show normally, but he's only on 90 minutes because of all the other stuff going on there. So in his stead, if all goes well, instead of the other guy in the other booth, we'll go with the other guy in our booth and get David Cobb to spend some time with us to lend his former player thoughts on this Furman Citadel rivalry.
That's going to be a lot of fun getting the Cobster on air.
Yeah. Clean your ears because you're about to be verbally assaulted by David Cobb tomorrow. Until then, for Forrest and for Coach, I'm Dan Scott saying God bless you and so long, everybody.